On the day of the engagement banquet, I received a message from a stranger. I'm back. It's time for you. The substitute. To get lost. This whole wedding is just a show he put on to force me to come back. If you have any self-respect, leave gracefully. Along with the messages came a photo. Lucas was reverently holding a pair of delicate feet, massaging the soles for the person in the picture with complete focus. I smiled. God knows. The man I was crazy about back then was Lucas's twin brother. Lucas was nothing but a replacement. When the engagement ceremony ended, I clung to Liam's arm so tight he couldn't pull away. Amid the guests' laughter and cheers, I practically dragged him into my car. Oh my God. I'd dreamed of kissing him for so long. Tonight, I was gonna have him. I have things to do. You go back first tonight, he said, trying to gently pull his arm free. I swung myself onto his lap and wrapped my arms around his neck. Husband, we had a deal. Tonight, I whispered seductively in his ear. I'm giving you my first time. We're gonna have a baby. His body went rigid. First time, he murmured. I nodded coquettishly. We promised. Remember, your one that got away is back now. You wouldn't break your promise for her, would you? I put on my best about-a-cree face. 7 years. I swallowed my pride and stayed with the Lancasters. And finally won everyone over. You said you'd give me a baby on our engagement day. As if. Lucas and I never had such an agreement. I stayed at the Lancaster house just to get a glimpse of Liam every day. 7 years. Everyone thought I was a doormat for Lucas. But no one knew that Lucas had never even kissed me on the lips. The man fell silent, his rapid breathing loud in the enclosed car. My lips brushed lightly against his ear, and I said softly, maybe I should just make room for your one that got away. I slid off his lap and started fake sobbing, pulling out my phone to call my mom. Mom, Lucas's one that got away is back. Tomorrow I'll come home with you. Before I could finish, a large hand snatched the phone away. Mom. Chloe's just joking. Chloe Hart, you little brat. My mom hung up, muttering curses. I leaned my head on Liam's shoulder. Let's stay at a hotel tonight. It's my first time. I'm a little scared. More scared that Lucas would suddenly show up and ruin everything. Okay. Liam's voice was low and magnetic. Liam had been my classmate in high school. I'd fallen for him at first sight. His looks could drive any woman wild, and his cold demeanor made them even more obsessed. Truly, madly, deeply obsessed. He was a straight-A student, every move precise and disciplined. If anyone else was that uptight, they'd be boring. But on him, it was mesmerizing. Countless beautiful girls had written him love letters. Even the school beauty had been rejected. I was just average grades, average looks, average family. I didn't even have the courage to hand him a letter. But because of Liam, I climbed from 200th place in my grade to second. First place was always him. I could never catch up. I wanted to be on top of him so bad. But he always beat me by 50 points. Still, being second was the closest I could get to him. It was enough. No one was taking my second place from me. 14 years flew by. I got into the same university as him. After graduation, I found out he had a twin brother. Identical twins. But Lucas was nothing like Liam except for their faces. Liam was brilliant, disciplined, had no bad habits, and was already running Lancaster Group before he graduated. Lucas bar hopped, chased girls, rode motorcycles, and lived for pleasure. His philosophy was that he was born to be spoiled. I didn't like him at all, but Liam was the moon in the sky, a god I could never reach. Lucas was different. Any woman could get close to him. I knew he had a one that got away, so I copied her and became his girlfriend. To see Liam every day, I moved into the Lancaster house and refused to leave. I worked my ass off to win over every single member of the family. I hadn't been looking forward to the engagement banquet until I saw the man standing across from me. One glance, and I knew that wasn't Lucas. Liam had a presence in his bones that Lucas could never copy in a million years. Ignoring everyone's stares, I jumped off the stage and ran backstage. I pulled out my phone. When I saw Snow's messages, I couldn't stop smiling. The top floor of a 5-star hotel. I only let go of Liam's arm when the door clicked shut behind us. That desperate to keep me from running. Liam frowned. dropping the Lucas act he'd been putting on for the guests. I wrapped my arms around his neck and kissed him. Kiss first, ask questions later. The soft touch made my brain short-circuit. 14 years of secret love. 7 years of persistence. Everything felt complete in that moment. Liam clearly hadn't expected me to be so forward. His eyes widened. The always calm, collected man was frozen stiff, unable to move. Husband, is this your first time too? I laughed and pushed him onto the bed. All the things I'd dreamed about 1,000 times were finally coming true tonight. Meanwhile, in another 5-star hotel room, Lucas was washing Snow's underwear. He didn't look half as happy as he had a few hours ago. He kept checking his phone. The engagement banquet had ended 2 hours ago. Both Liam and Chloe were MIA. Chloe hadn't replied to any of his messages all day. And neither had the brother he'd begged to fill in for him at the ceremony. What made him panic even more was that Chloe hadn't gone back to the Lancaster house. And Liam hadn't gone to the office. This was extremely unusual. Water and soap bubbles dripped onto his phone screen. Snow poked her head into the bathroom. Lucas, what's wrong? You've been washing my one pair of underwear for almost half an hour. I finished my whole live stream already. Lucas jumped, and his phone fell into the basin. Snow rushed in and snatched it out of the water. Lucas, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have made you wash them. I'll buy you a new phone. Let me do it instead. She reached for the basin. Lucas stood up abruptly. I'll buy you new ones. Let's stop washing. He grabbed Snow and pulled her out of the bathroom. Snow was still wearing her white hotel nightgown when they reached the door. Tears started rolling down her cheeks. Lucas, don't you love me anymore? Lucas finally noticed what she was wearing. No, I just need to buy a new phone and get you more underwear. He pulled her into a hug and stroked her hair gently, cooing at her. It's my fault. Don't cry. I flew all day. I'm so tired. Can we go buy the phone tomorrow? I just want to rest. Snow kept crying, her body shaking. I'm sorry. Lucas suddenly seemed to snap out of it. He carried Snow to the bed. How could I make you tired? A phone is nothing compared to you. He'd waited for Snow for so many years. Now that she was back, how could he not cherish her? Chloe was just a doormat who'd licked his boots for 7 years, who had no self-respect left. What could she possibly do to betray him? And his older brother, the man who'd never touched a woman, who only cared about the Lancaster family and the company, who did nothing but work. He must have had an emergency business trip and forgotten to text. Snow curled up in his arms and smiled. Can you hold me while I sleep tonight? I sleep best in your arms. Yeah, I'll hold you. At 5 in the morning, the sky was still pitch black, and the city lights twinkled outside the window. I gently lifted the covers, planning to sneak away before Liam woke up. We'd gone at it quite a few times last night. If I was pregnant with his child, I'd break up with Lucas. Spending my life raising a child with Liam's blood would be more than enough for me. I wasn't greedy. I didn't want to be some CEO's wife. I loved the man himself, not his title. A strong hand pulled me back into a firm embrace, running away. Going to the bathroom. I've never seen anyone sneak to the bathroom like a thief. His voice was even more magnetic in the dark. Round 2. I gasped. More chances meant higher odds of getting pregnant. Right. Get pregnant, then run. As long as I never told anyone who the father was, no one would ever know. Are you sure? My face burned hot. Liam was asking for round 2. This was something I'd never even dared to dream about. He showed me he wasn't joking. Both our phones started ringing. We ignored them. At 2:30 in the afternoon, Liam's secretary knocked on the hotel door. He stood in the hallway and called through the door. Young master, Mr. Lancaster says there's a very important international meeting at 3 this afternoon. He wants you to sit in and learn. Liam finally got up to leave. Before he walked out, he kissed my forehead. Wait for me. In the luxury car, the secretary kept glancing surreptitiously at Liam's neck, which was covered in love bites. Mr. Lancaster, should I call a makeup artist too? Cover those up. No need. The secretary didn't dare say another word. His face was calm, but his mind was reeling. That Miss Chloe is something else. She slept with both Lancaster brothers, as if reading his mind. Liam adjusted his collar casually and said, "She was a virgin." The car lurched violently, then smoothed out again. The driver let out a long breath. The secretary had a million questions, but swallowed them all. Everyone knew Chloe was head over heels for Lucas. She'd learned 36 languages, mastered music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, even learned to ride motorcycles and race cars all for him. Liam rubbed his thumb and index finger together, replaying every moment of Chloe's life over the past 7 years in his head. No one knew that all those things Chloe had learned were also his favorites. All the little ways she'd made her presence known to him over the years had left an indelible mark on his heart. Otherwise, how could he have agreed to such an absurd thing as filling in for his brother at the engagement banquet? It wasn't until yesterday that he realized he couldn't stand the thought of Chloe sleeping in the same bed as Lucas. That's why he'd given in to her outrageous demands. He suspected Chloe had known it was him all along. She'd never called him by name once last night, when she was with Lucas. She always called him Lucas. She never called him husband. After Liam left, I got up. I went to the bathroom and stared at myself in the mirror. There were marks all over my body, not just my neck. This man was surprisingly thorough. I put on my dress, did my makeup, and headed back to the Lancaster mansion. But I never made it inside. The butler was waiting for me at the gate, like he'd been standing there specifically. "Miss Hart, the young master says you don't need to come to the Lancaster house anymore. Miss Voss has moved in." He held out a set of keys and pointed to a suitcase on the ground. "This is the penthouse at Golden View Residences, Building 7. The young master says you can live there from now on." What was the point of living somewhere I couldn't see Liam? I didn't take the keys. I opened the suitcase, which only contained some worthless junk, grabbed my backpack, and made sure all my documents were inside. The butler kept his hand outstretched, staring at me with curiosity in his eyes. "We just had a grand engagement banquet yesterday, and today I'm being thrown out of the Lancaster house. Does that seem right to you?" The butler's face twitched slightly. He replied in a businesslike tone, "The young master has already announced his engagement to Miss Voss to the public. They'll be getting married in a month. The invitations are being printed as we speak." Perfect. The last thing I wanted was to actually marry Lucas. I'd already gotten what I came for. I'd slept with the M, and I'd wanted for 14 years. Got it. I turned and walked away. "Miss Hart, your keys." I didn't stop or reply. If he didn't have the exact same face as Liam, I wouldn't have even agreed to the engagement in the first place. He had the nerve to try and keep me as a kept woman. I rented an apartment. I'd barely settled in when I saw a notification. $100 million had been deposited into my account. It was from Mrs. Lancaster. She sent me a text saying, "Chloe, we're the ones in the wrong. These 7 years have been hard on you. Take this money as compensation from the Lancaster family." Mrs. Lancaster had always been good to Liam, so I'd been genuinely good to her. I'd treated her like my own mother. That kindness was paying off today. "Thank you, Mrs. Lancaster." I took the money. If I was pregnant with her precious grandson, this money would give him the best education possible. Just then, a message from Snow popped up. "Told you to leave voluntarily. Now you've been thrown out like garbage. Happy now? You're this desperate to get a rise out of me. Did Lucas already fall in love with me and you can't sleep at night?" I shot back without hesitation. I rented a nicer apartment near my office. But surprisingly, Lucas showed up as soon as I finished moving in, with Snow in tow. "What do you want?" I stood in the doorway, blocking their way. Lucas shoved me aside and stormed inside. I leaned against the doorframe, not following him, just watching them silently. Lucas pulled out tissues from the table, one after another, until the whole pack was gone and the sofa was covered in them. Only then did he let Snow sit down. Snow looked at me triumphantly and sat. Lucas finally noticed I was still standing in the doorway. "What are you doing standing there?" I didn't move. "Spit it out." Lucas glanced outside, making sure no one was around. "My mom gave you $100 million, right? Give that money to Snow. You got to enjoy being her substitute for 7 years. You owe her emotional damages." I kicked myself for not hitting record on my phone. They were identical twins. But how could Lucas be this brain damaged? No normal human being would say something like that. I'd worked my fingers to the bone for the Lancaster family for 7 years, doing everything except my actual job. What emotional damages did Snow have? I laughed bitterly. I think you two need mental evaluations, not emotional damages from me. Your ego is so big it could wrap around the earth 50 times. Lucas's face turned red with anger. If you ever want to see me again, hand over the money now. You got to live as Snow for 7 years. Don't be ungrateful. I stared at that face exactly the same as Liam Sand wanted to scratch it to pieces. How dare he use that beautiful face to say such disgusting things? He was trampling on my idol. I pulled out my phone and dialed Mrs. Lancaster's number. Chloe Hart, are you listening to me? You used to be miserable if you didn't see me for a day. If you give Snow the money, I'll let you come back to the Lancaster house. I can't marry you. And I can't give you anything. But I'll let you watch me from afar. You said just seeing me from a distance was enough for you. Remember, that money belongs to the Lancasters. What right do you have to it? Snow tilted her head and filed her nails, glancing at me every now and then. She thought I'd scream and cry and throw a fit. I didn't. I just held my phone out a little further, so Mrs. Lancaster could hear every word clearly. Gradually, Snow's hand started shaking slightly. Lucas, that money was given to me by Mrs. Lancaster. You have no right to ask for it. As for Miss Voss's emotional damage, if you want to compensate her that bad, you pay her. Chloe Hart. Lucas's voice echoed down the hallway. You'll never see me again. You think playing hard to get will make me notice you? You're nothing but Snow's substitute. Lucas got $1 million in allowance every month, but he spent it so fast it was gone in a few days. He had literally no money in his bank account. Just then, Lucas's phone rang. He was about to hang up, but saw it was his mom. In his panic, he accidentally hit speakerphone. Mrs. Lancaster's furious voice boomed out. Lucas Lancaster, what the hell are you doing? You useless piece of garbage. You don't learn anything good from your brother. That money I gave Chloe is hers. If you keep acting like this, I'll break your legs. I knew Mrs. Lancaster was genuinely angry. She'd never liked Snow. She thought Snow was fake and stupid. I might not have come from a rich family, but I had brains. Snow had neither money nor brains. She could never be what Mrs. Lancaster wanted in a daughter-in-law. And just like that, the farce was over. Snow gave me a murderous glare as she left. A few days later, Liam returned from his business trip. He sat down in the living room out of habit. In the past, whenever he came home, Chloe would always find some excuse to stay in the living room. This time, he waited 5 minutes, and no one showed up. Just as he was about to go upstairs, the front door opened. He sat back down. Mr. Lancaster, you're back. Snow bounced down the stairs. Mr. Lancaster, I haven't seen you in days. Were you on a business trip abroad? Snow was too busy schmoozing to notice the disappointment in Liam's eyes. He opened his mouth, but said nothing, then stood up and walked to his study. Snow stared at his back, resentment burning in her chest. They had the exact same face, but Lucas was wrapped around her finger. Why wouldn't Liam even glance at her? He'd been like an ice block since childhood, ignoring her every time she said hello. She crushed a grape in her hand so hard the juice ran down her fingers. Lucas is so useless. He doesn't even have $1 million in his pocket. I need to find a way to sleep with Liam. She had a plan. She'd pretend she'd mistaken him for Lucas, sleep with him, then marry him. Liam went into his study and pulled out his phone. He pulled up Chloe's Instagram feed. The account that used to update every day was now set to 3 days visible, and those 3 days were completely empty. All of Chloe's old photos had always had Liam in the background. In some tiny corner, he picked up the phone and called the butler, who appeared in the study a moment later. Where is Chloe? The butler looked surprised, but quickly replied, a few days ago. The young master brought Miss Voss home and told me to throw all of Miss Hart's things out. He said she could live at Golden View Residences. Liam frowned. Did she go there? The butler looked even more confused, but answered truthfully. Miss Hart didn't take the keys. I have no idea where she went. Liam waved him away. The butler breathed a sigh of relief. I moved to an even nicer neighborhood, renting a place under my friend's name. A month passed. My period was late. I rushed straight to the hospital. A mix of excitement, fear, and anticipation bubbling inside me. If I was pregnant, I'd have a little Liam. Raising him alone would be worth every second of my life. If not, then it just wasn't meant to be. 7 years was long enough. It was time to start a new life. I'd probably end up alone forever. Only now did I understand what people meant when they said you should never meet someone too amazing when you're young. I'd tried to fall for other men. It never worked. Lucas, we're having a baby. A joyful voice cut through the air. It was Snow. I looked up and locked eyes with the two of them. Snow glanced at the obstetrics sign, then looked at me with mockery. Chloe, did you come here to hurt me just because you heard I'm pregnant with Lucas's child? Lucas quickly pulled Snow behind him. Chloe, I advise you to be decent. This is a human life. I know you're obsessed with me, but you can't do something this heinous. I rolled my eyes and walked past them. My test results should be ready. I went straight to the printer and pulled them out. Twins. Holy shit. I almost jumped for joy. I had 2 little Liams. Chloe Hart, you're pregnant. Whose bastard is that? I stuffed the report in my bag and headed straight for the doctor's office. I didn't have time for their nonsense. Chloe, answer me. Lucas let go of Snow and followed me, locking the door to the doctor's office. Whose bastard is it? You were my fiancé. How dare you get pregnant with another man's child? My face turned cold. Mr. Lancaster, get this straight. Your fiancé is your precious Snow. You're one that got away. Why are you stopping me? Shouldn't you be checking on your own son? The baby in my stomach has absolutely nothing to do with you. Oh, I see. That's why you left me so easily. You were already cheating on me with some other guy. Chloe Hart, you're such a slut. Ha, he'd already moved on with someone else. He'd made his own brother stand in for him at their engagement, and he had the nerve to call me a slut. Lucas, it's slutty to care about someone else's baby. He punched the door so hard it shook, then grabbed my arm and dragged me outside, completely forgetting about Snow behind him. By the time we got in the car, Snow had finally caught up. Her face was a mess of emotions. There was glee at seeing me cheat, but also hatred at seeing how much Lucas cared about me. Her eyes looked like they wanted to skin me alive. Miss Voss, your man doesn't seem to love you that much after all, does he? I was trapped in Lucas's tight grip, unable to struggle. I couldn't fight back. Not with the babies in my stomach. Snow's face turned white, then green. Lucas, she cheated on you. Why are you doing this? Lucas gritted his teeth. I'm getting that money back. This woman deserves to be blacklisted by the Lancasters, to live like a beggar on the streets, and her lover can rot in hell with her. Lucas, let go of me. I tried to break free, but he was holding me so tight it hurt. A sharp pain shot through my arm. Yes, make her pay. Snow helped Lucas hold me down. I closed my eyes. I should have fled with the baby as soon as I found out. I'd thought about it, but I hadn't been sure I was pregnant yet. Chloe, if you give me the money now, I'll put in a good word for you with Lucas, Snow said suddenly, halfway through the drive. If you don't, when we get to the Lancaster house, you'll be dead, and your lover will be ruined for the rest of his life. Mrs. Lancaster hates liars more than anything. She'll never forgive you for getting pregnant with another man's child and taking her money. Give the money to Snow, get an abortion, and break up with that other guy. And I might let you off the hook, Lucas said after a moment. I might even keep you as my kept woman, but my wife will only ever be Snow. I looked at Snow. She was clutching her stomach in shock. Lucas, I'm pregnant with your child. How can you say you'll keep her as a kept woman? Oh, come on, Snow. Keeping Chloe won't cost anything. I didn't spend a dime on her for 7 years. I closed my eyes. If I told them the babies were Liam's, Lucas would probably demand I get an abortion on the spot. The car didn't go to the Lancaster house. It slowly pulled into an abandoned factory. When we got out, Lucas clamped down on me so tight I couldn't move, dragging me inside. Snow followed beside him, looking dazed and distraught. He threw me on the ground. Chloe Hart, do you have a heart? You spent 7 years telling me you loved me, And now you're pregnant with another man's child. And you dared to take my mom's $100 million. What makes you think we'd pay you to raise some bastard? Put on an act for 7 years. Then show your true colors as soon as you get the money. Snow sneered from the side. In Riverstone, no one gets away with humiliating the Lancaster family. No one humiliates me, Lucas ranted, pacing back and forth like a madman. But if you beg me for forgiveness and get an abortion, I'll let you stay at the Lancaster house. I'll give back the money. But why should I get an abortion? I clutched my stomach protectively. These babies were the only thing I'd ever dared to hope for. Why? Because Lucas is a Lancaster. You're just some nobody from a hick town. How could you possibly fight us? Snow's eyes blazed with hatred. If you don't do what we say, we could kill you right here and no one would ever know. She clapped her hands, and several large bodyguards appeared from the shadows. This is a civilized society, I said, shrinking back into the corner. I quietly pulled out my phone and dialed a number. Who's going to believe you? Lucas said. I know you're just doing this to make me jealous. You had a one-night stand to get back at me. That's why I'm willing to forgive you. If you stay at the Lancaster house and never cheat on me again, I'll forget this ever happened. He had a point. I'd never been with any other man, because no one could ever compare to Liam. Go get a doctor to bring abortion pills. Force her to take them. This bastard cannot be allowed to live. Lucas ordered the bodyguards. One of them left immediately. Lucas Lancaster, you're despicable. Even worse than I thought. Worse than you thought. Lucas laughed wildly. I'm this despicable. And you still licked my boots for 7 years. Remember when it was snowing? And I made you jump into the lake to get my watch. You didn't even hesitate. That was because you said if I jumped in, I could move into the Lancaster house. I did it so I could see Liam every day. When my mom was sick, you stayed up all night taking care of her. When my brother got hurt, you went to the temple and prayed for him for an entire day. You're just mad you couldn't have me. So you're making up lies about me. He preened. You learned 36 languages for me. You taught yourself traditional Chinese medicine, acupuncture, piano, painting. Chloe Hart, you're such a liar to yourself. Oh, and you learned to ride motorcycles. You almost died trying to win that race. You were that desperate to impress me, and now you dare to betray me. He laughed again. You went too far this time, Chloe. I closed my eyes, not bothering to argue. If he had half a brain, he'd realize you don't need to know 36 languages to date a playboy. Everything I'd learned, everything I'd done, was for Liam. It had never had anything to do with him. I had no idea what Liam was thinking on the other end of the phone. I just had to hold on. Please, save your children. What are you going to force her to take? Liam walked in, his face cold with fury. When he saw Liam, Lucas paled slightly. Brother, what are you doing here? This woman got pregnant with another man's child and took $100 million from our family. I'm just teaching her a lesson. She's humiliating the Lancaster name. Liam let out a bitter laugh. The Lancaster family broke off the engagement after 7 years. Is $100 million in compensation really that much? And then you try to take it back. Do you want the entire business world to laugh at us? His icy gaze swept over everyone in the room, finally landing on me, huddled in the corner. Miss Hart is no longer engaged to you. What right do you have to decide what happens to her baby? But she got pregnant while she was still with me, Lucas protested. She's a cheater. I pulled out my prenatal test report and held it up. My babies are exactly 4 weeks old. I conceived them after I broke up with Lucas. Liam walked quickly over to me and snatched the report. The dates matched. He'd had people following me discreetly this whole time. I'd done nothing but work and stay home. There had been no other men. Brother, she's making a fool out of me. She pretended to love me for 7 years, then slept with someone else the second she left. Liam looked at him coldly. Are you just upset that she didn't stay celibate for you after you dumped her? Mr. Lancaster, Chloe is a gold digger, Snow cried out, desperate to make me look bad. The Voss family better not ask the Lancasters for any money then, unless you want to be called a gold digger too, Liam said flatly. He paused. That money was given to her voluntarily by the Lancaster family. She didn't ask for it. Miss Voss, Are you already trying to run the Lancaster household before you're even married? Lucas and Snow stared at each other in shock. It wasn't that they thought Liam was wrong. It was that Liam never got involved in anything that wasn't work. His entire life revolved around growing Lancaster Group. Why was he breaking all his rules for me? I kept my head down. When no one said anything else, I quickly stood up. If there's nothing else, I'm going home. I turned and ran out of the factory as fast as I could. As soon as I got home, I grabbed my passport and headed straight for the international airport. If I wanted to have these babies safely, I had to flee the country. Life in the French countryside was incredibly peaceful. Luckily, I spoke 36 languages. So I got a job waiting tables at a local cafe. The work was easy, and the people were friendly. Several handsome Frenchmen had taken a liking to me and asked me out. But my heart belonged to Liam. All I cared about was having my twins safely. I turned them all down. 9 months later, I gave birth to 2 healthy baby boys. I kept up with news from Harbor City through social media. Lucas and Snow had broken up. Snow had married a man from a less wealthy family, but one where she was the one in charge. Lucas had started openly keeping women who looked just like me. He made them learn 36 languages, music, chess, calligraphy, painting, everything I'd done. None of them could keep up with how hard I'd worked. He went through women like water. Every now and then, he'd text me from a new number and try to talk to me. I blocked them all. When the babies were a month old, I took them to the hospital for their checkup. I'd just walked into the hospital when I saw the man who'd haunted my dreams for years, Liam. I thought I was hallucinating from missing him so much. Look, babies. Mommy's seeing things. She thinks your daddy is here. I laughed at myself and pushed the stroller forward. The next second, I was pulled into a warm embrace. Was it fun, running away with my babies? His warm breath tickled my ear, and I suddenly flashed back to that night in the hotel. My face burned hot. Mr. Lancaster, what are you talking about? I pulled away from his arms. Reluctantly, I couldn't admit the babies were his. He pulled a document out of his pocket and unfolded it slowly, his voice calm as he spoke. The latest genetic test report. The Lancaster family has a strong twin gene. I didn't take the report. I already knew what it said. Mr. Lancaster, the babies are better off with me. No one should ever know who their father is. Not even them. You don't want a scandal ruining your reputation, do you? You don't want these babies to come between you and your future wife. I promise, if you leave us alone, they'll never come looking for the Lancaster family. I rambled on for almost 10 minutes, trying to talk him out of taking them. Finally, Liam let out a low laugh. This is a product test report for the new Lancaster Group skincare line. Chloe, what did you think it was? I clenched my fists, resisting the urge to hit him. When did this man learn how to joke? But somehow, it made him even more attractive. Mr. Lancaster, are you here on business? I won't bother you anymore. I turned and pushed the stroller away as fast as I could. Chloe, he grabbed the handle of the stroller. My mom will give you another $1 billion when she finds out she has 2 grandsons. This damn man, he knew exactly how to get to me. If you promise I can see the babies whenever I want, I might consider letting you take one back to the Lancaster house. I said. I added quickly, only one. I'm keeping the other one. I needed one to keep for myself. Take them back. Nonsense. You're the one who gave birth to them. You'll raise all of them. Mrs. Lancaster said, stepping out from the shadows with a huge grin. When Liam told me I had grandsons, I didn't believe him. He never even looked at a woman, let alone dated one. Chloe, you've had such a hard year. I had no idea Lucas did that ridiculous thing making Liam stand in for him at the engagement banquet. I froze. I'd thought I was just getting closure for my 14-year secret crush. Now that Mrs. Lancaster was here, I felt my face burning with embarrassment. Mrs. Lancaster, It's fine. It's fine. You're the Lancaster family's hero. I've always liked you, she said, patting my hand. Now come on. Let me hold my grandsons. Oh, they're perfect. She carefully picked up both babies, refusing to put either one down. When are you two getting married? You've known each other for years. You know each other inside and out. If you don't marry her soon, everyone's gonna think you're gay. Liam. Mrs. Lancaster was beaming from ear to ear. We'll have the wedding as soon as we get back. Liam said. Wait, what? Aren't you going to ask for my opinion? Not that I would say no, but a little ceremony would be nice. When I walked into the Lancaster house with the twins, Lucas was sitting on the sofa holding a girl who looked exactly like me. When he saw me, he kicked the girl off the couch and ran over to me. Chloe, you're back. Did you finally come to your senses? This time, we'll get married right away. I'll never do anything stupid again. I won't let you throw yourself away with someone else. He stopped mid-sentence when he saw the two babies in the stroller. They looked exactly like him. Chloe, are these my babies? He stared at them in shock. But we never. Did you sneak into my room when I was drunk? I don't remember anything. Oh my God. They're not bastards. They're my babies. He started jumping up and down like an excited child, completely oblivious to the weird looks everyone was giving him. Lucas, the girl he'd been holding, said, walking over to him, you'd remember if you'd slept with her. Get out. He pushed her away roughly. Chloe's back. I don't need you anymore. I laughed, just like when Snow came back. And you didn't even tell me before you threw all my things out. Lucas, when are you going to grow up? Stop embarrassing yourself, Mrs. Lancaster said, looking at him with disgust. She might have been his mother, but she truly couldn't stand her younger son. She waved to the nannies. These are the young masters. Take good care of them. Don't let anyone who doesn't belong touch them. The anyone who doesn't belong was clearly Lucas. Chloe, stop being stubborn. You've been mad at me for a year. It's time to forgive me. You came back to the Lancaster house. That means you still love me. He reached for my hand. Liam slapped his hand away. These children are mine. What? Lucas stared at Liam in disbelief, then threw a punch at him. I treated you like my own brother. And you stole my wife. Everything clicked into place. He remembered how Liam had showed up out of nowhere to stop him from making Chloe get an abortion. It all made sense now. He started hitting Liam wildly, not caring that he was no match for him. Mrs. Lancaster grabbed the nearest wine bottle and smashed it over Lucas's head. There was a loud crack, and Lucas stared at her with wide eyes, blood and red wine running down his face. You've always favored him. You still favor him now. I'm not favoring him. I'm being reasonable. If I favored you, the Lancaster family would have gone bankrupt years ago. Your brother has worked his ass off for this family his entire life. What have you done except party and waste money? Have you ever once taken care of your family? You useless piece of garbage. If you weren't my son, I'd have killed you a long time ago. Mrs. Lancaster pushed Lucas aside and fussed over Liam. Why didn't you hit him back? He's being an idiot. It's not your fault. Liam looked calm. I owe him. If I'd refused Chloe that night, these babies would never have been born. At that, Lucas tried to punch him again. Mrs. Lancaster grabbed another wine bottle. If you lay a hand on him, I'll put you in the hospital. You idiot. Who asked you to make your brother stand in for you at your own engagement? Engagement night is supposed to be your wedding night. You made your bed. Now lie in it. Lucas suddenly grabbed me. Chloe, I'll still marry you. I don't care that you slept with my brother. You waited 7 years for me. We can't throw all that away over one little mistake. It was my fault. You didn't betray me. You just mistook him for me. I pushed him away. You're wrong, Lucas. I knew it was your brother. That's why I seduced him. That's not true. You love me. You're just saying that to hurt me. Lucas refused to believe it. Liam was my classmate in high school. I fell in love with him at first sight. Do you really think a good girl like me would ever fall for a playboy like you? Your brother is the man I've been secretly in love with for 14 years. I only ever wanted to have children with him. You're lying. You just found out he's the CEO of Lancaster Group and decided you wanted his money. I fell in love with him before I even knew what the Lancaster Group was. I didn't even know who his family was back then. Liam had gone to high school in my city, living with his grandmother. Lucas still wouldn't give up. But why did you learn to ride motorcycles? That's not something my brother likes. I smiled and didn't answer. Liam had ridden motorcycles in high school. I'd watched him secretly all the time. He just never did it again after he moved back to the Lancaster house. Mrs. Lancaster covered her mouth in shock. She had no idea I'd been in love with Liam for that long. The quiet living room was broken by Liam's voice. I used to ride motorcycles every weekend in high school. He'd given up his hobby when he had to take over the family business. Lucas collapsed onto the floor. The butler looked at the big bump on his head, unsure what to do. Oh, Chloe. You poor thing, why didn't you tell me sooner? Mrs. Lancaster took my hand gently, her eyes full of sympathy. I always knew Lucas wasn't good enough for you. That's why I was so confused when you were so nice to me. The next second, I was pulled into a strong embrace. You silly girl. Liam and I had a low-key wedding. We only invited our closest friends and family. Liam had wanted to throw me a grander ceremony, but I turned him down. I'd fallen in love with the Liam from high school, not the CEO of Lancaster Group. Liam posted our wedding photos on the company website and his personal social media accounts. Lucas got drunk at the wedding and tried to cause a scene. Mrs. Lancaster hit him over tea. He hid with 2 more wine bottles and knocked him out. Snow showed up too. The man next to her was greasy and kept staring at all the pretty women at the wedding. She no longer had the arrogant air she'd had around me. She looked tired. 10 years older than she actually was. I heard she'd had 5 miscarriages. Her husband was infertile from years of partying. She said to me, "It's sad. Using a baby to climb the social ladder." I smiled back. "You'll probably never get the chance to find out." I leaned in and whispered in her ear, "You never won. Lucas is a useless idiot. Why would I learn 36 languages for him?" Snow dropped her wine glass on the floor. She remembered the messages she'd sent me the day she came back. She looked like she wanted to disappear into the ground. That night, Liam told me something. "Honey, actually, back in high school, I was always waiting for you to give me a love letter. I was so jealous when you were nice to Lucas. Turns out, all my hard work over the years hadn't gone unnoticed. I guess that's what they mean by, what goes around, comes around." Hey there, could you rate this story in the comments? Use a scale of 1 to 10. Please, I am begging you. It really means a lot to me. And if you like this kind of content, don't forget to hit follow.